Say it again. I dare you. I had to get medieval on that cat. Greetings and salutations, everyone. It is Samson KittyFox, and I am back with another video. This one is a doozy. I wonder if fursuiters can pick their nose. Is this unattractive? I hope you enjoyed that intro. Lately I've been on a crazy obsession with Pulp Fiction, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I hope that you enjoyed it. It actually took a long time to do, so I'm very pleased with how it came out. So as mentioned in the last video, I had a story that I wanted to share with all of you of the time that I dated, yes, you heard that correctly, I dated a furry hater. Here's the video. Here we are. I didn't think it would come so soon, but it did. I just figured it's the right time because it's been a good long time since this happened, and I've had some time to meditate over it and reconsider and just think about what went wrong and what could have gone better and what I've learned from that experience. Before we get started on that, I just want to say I want to thank you to all the people who have commented, who liked, and who subscribed over the past week alone. I can't believe the amount of support that's already been shown in just very little time, and I didn't think I would be welcomed back so warmly. I thought I would have to climb my way kind of back to where I was so many years ago, but you all have really shown your love, and just for that I just want to say that I love you all in return. Honestly, I don't know how to repay you. It is quite an honor, and the only way I can think to thank you is by saying it, thank you, and also to be continuing to make content for all of you, because you all, the response has been so beautiful, and it causes me to want to make more. So here we are. I'd like to make so much more for all of you. Got something stuck. So, right into the story. Here we go. Given the drama right now on YouTube, I don't think I want to say that. Let's get right into the story. No, we're not doing that. Are we rolling? Are we rolling? Are we rolling? Are we rolling? We're rolling. Fix my neck so I can see my tie. Any takers? That's a horrible joke. Don't. No. To start the story off, it's important that we go back a little bit. This was about, I'd say, 4 years ago at this point. Well, it's actually 4. I had just gotten out of a actually furry-based relationship. I was in a long-distance relationship with somebody. That's a whole other story which I'm not going to tell just because it's not really interesting. This was fresh out of that relationship. So I decided, hey, what's stopping me from going out and finding a new relationship? So what do? The first thing that you do is you download a dating app. Who here has not used a dating app? I don't see any paws or hands raised, so I'm just going to continue and assume that we all have at some point. So on this dating app, I'm not going to mention which one it is. It had to do with a bunch of undersea animals, and there were lots of them. That was the dating site. So I ended up talking to this one person, and pretty nice. From the looks of it, the interests were pretty much copacetic. We had a lot of the same music tastes, a lot of the same movie tastes. We immediately started talking, and things were great. I think we talked for maybe a couple weeks, and then we decided, you know what, it's time that we actually meet. The meeting was actually interesting because it was the shadiest meeting I had ever taken part of. So we were both playing a very huge risk, and who knows what could have happened that day. But you know what? It wasn't terrible. Nothing happened, thankfully. And I'm just blessed to still be here because of it. But it actually wasn't terrible. But the setting was terrible. It's so hot today. And here's the thing, I can't have a fan on because you'll hear it in the background. This is complete raw footage here. So enjoy yourself. I hope you're enjoying this. This is not symbolic. Hang on. There we go. So the first basic interaction I had with them about the furry fandom, it was me showing off, I believe, a couple pictures of my persona, and this person seemed to take okay to it. Like, they weren't too excited about it, but at the same time they were not too thrilled about it. They weren't opposed to it. It seemed they didn't outright say, hey, get that out of my face, I don't like this. You know, it was just kind of like, oh, if that's what you're into, that's cool, you know. And now that I think back on it, there were some conversations that we had throughout the months that we dated where they had, I guess, seen some things about furries that I was not aware of, and it was not brought to my attention. It was like things like, oh, furries do this and stereotype this, 1, 2, 3, stereotype, prejudice, stereotype, and I didn't know anything about it. It was just kind of like, well, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So that was the kind of the case. I just was not told about it. The first implication of the telling, if you want to call it that, or the coming out, as it were, as a furry to them and to someone who you're dating, it's way different than, say, a family member. It is miles different. And this person just kind of like gave the vibe, didn't really say this outright, but it was kind of like, hey, whatever makes you happy, but just don't get me involved. Because of that, it kind of put a small wedge in the beginning. I see this now, but I didn't see it at the time, between the two of us. Like this, we're talking freshly into the dating scene for each other, and we were both out of relationships, like fresh out of relationships. I now see that there was some sort of divide between us very early on, which I think put a whammy on the whole thing, because the truth is, at that point, I had been in the fandom for about 5 years. Like, that was monumental for me. 5 years is, well, 5 years is a long time for someone to be in the fandom and to have experience. And the thing is, I had already established myself in the fandom. I had already made friends, lots of friends, in fact. Like, I would say a high percentage of friends in my life were in the fandom. I had already been fursuiting, I had already met people, you know, I had already been to meets and stuff, so it was already well on its way. It wasn't like it was just another part, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was very much a part of my identity and things that I enjoyed and the favorite pastimes, as well as a hobby. And you know what? That's actually a good video topic for the future. Fandom, furry fandom, any type of fandom really. Is it a hobby or is it a lifestyle? Let me know what you think in the comments. For me, it was very much a big part of my life. I don't know if I would call it a lifestyle or a hobby necessarily. It was just a big part of my life. And a lot of furs that I talk to, this is the case for them as well. But I digress. So this relationship did not last very long. It didn't even last a whole year. It was very short, and a lot of stuff happened. A lot of things that I'm not particularly proud of on my part. In particular, I could have done a lot better, and I feel like a lot of us could say the same thing about relationships that we have been in the past. But because of those things, we can learn from them, and we can become better people because of them. And I certainly feel like a much better person than I was at that time. So continuing on, anytime I would bring up the fandom or show something or try to share something, and let alone fursuiting, like, I don't think I ever fursuited around this person at all. It was very much tucked away and pushed to the back burner because I wanted to impress this person. I wanted to love them, I wanted to be with them, and I wanted to be myself with them. But it seems like that part was like pushed away, and it was getting further and further out, so much to the point where anytime I would bring it up or alluded to it or showed something or anything really related to the fandom, it was just kind of like, no, that's weird, I don't want to hear about that, or I don't particularly enjoy this. And that's okay. They didn't like it. You know, by that point it was clear to me that, okay, they are not into this at all, and I completely respect that. So because of that, I will back off. I won't bring it up anymore. I won't allude to it. I won't show you anything. So I respected it. I respected it. It wasn't their thing, and I just would keep it kind of separate from our relationship, and I wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't bring it around when I was with them or anything. And then I got to a point where it actually took a darker turn than I realized. I can remember one specific time, and if I still have it, I'll post it, or I'll link it or something, maybe in the description. I don't even know if it's still up. I had written a Furaffinity journal explaining kind of the situation, and then right after the relationship ended, I wrote a follow-up journal explaining my position, what exactly was happening, and what happened after the fact. I remember I was actually quite sad to be writing that journal, because as I was writing it, the reality was hitting me. Wow, this is actually kind of unbelievable that I'm actually doing this. I'm actually saying to my friends and my furry family and the people who I've built up so much with. To be honest, it was like I was writing a goodbye. It's like I felt like I was quitting the fandom, and the reason for that is because of what happened next. As I said, I respectfully pushed it aside, and you know, when you're so into something and it's so ingrained in you that it just comes out at certain points. And I think it was one time in particular, I was caught by this person on a Furaffinity or Twitter or something like that. I was looking at something, and then there was a discussion, and it wasn't your typical discussion. It was a little more heated than that, and I won't give away all the details, but basically it ended with the fact that you got to give this up, and I don't like this, and I told you not to do this, and it was very dramatic, so to speak. And basically it came down, it wasn't said outright. There was a lot of now that I think about it, there was a lot of passive aggression and a lot of what's the word I'm looking for, indirection towards the fandom, my involvement in it, and I believe there was some disdain. I can't really know for sure. These are just all my experience. What I'm saying is my experience, and I am not at all criticizing this person. I don't want this to come off that way. I'm just telling about what happened. The insinuation that I got, the implication rather that I got, was it's either me or the fandom. That was the idea, and it wasn't fun. And I believe it was right about that time that I had written that journal that felt like I was quitting, and it was a dark time, and it was not something that I thought I'd ever experience, because honestly and truly, I love this fandom so much. In times, it has brought me so many friends. This community has been there to support me and love me, even though I have not always loved back. That's very true. And I lost a lot of myself and a lot of contacts and a lot of my way, you could say, in the community after that. Well, talking about it now, it's really sobering, to be honest. Like, my head feels really clear right now. I don't think I've ever really talked about this, maybe to people, but not like this, Hearing yourself say these things is different than like typing them out or thinking about them and rehashing them in your brain. It's very different. To kind of wrap up the story, we ended up breaking it off about a month later. And it wasn't just because of the fandom. It wasn't just because of like the thwarting of the fandom. It wasn't because of any of that, really. Like, that didn't help, but that wasn't the primary reason. Not even close to the primary reason to why we broke up. It was a bunch of other things, which are very much personal, and those are completely open to interpretation. We all have those times with people. We all have those personal issues, and we all have healing. But it took me a long time. I was actually kind of surprised. It took me a long time to get back on that horse, to use that terminology. I felt quite disconnected for a long time. Even though I made a follow-up journal and reignited some contact with people, I didn't feel it. There was just something in there that didn't feel right. And I think that was an overall personal problem. To re-find myself, to find new things about myself, and to rediscover the magic that I felt so long ago when discovering this fandom. I think this is a whole other video topic, actually. I will go into greater detail in a future video of my time disconnected, if you will, from the furry fandom, and what I learned and how it made me a better person and a better furry, if you will. I was able to refine my way. I was able to reestablish connections with people. I was able to kind of get back what I had lost and find new things that I never knew about. And really, I don't intend, at the end of the day, I don't intend to criticize this person. I don't intend to make them sound like the bad guy. They are not. Like, that's not even close to what happened. The truth is, some people are into it and other people are not. It's not for everybody, even though the furry fandom is advertised and often pushed out there to be all-inclusive and loving and open and tolerant and caring and everything. There will still be people who will reject it, and that is completely okay. Really, I should be thanking this person, and I have, actually. I should thank them for pushing me to remember, to re-find a passion that I had so long ago and continue to have even to this day. And for that reason, like, I don't regret any of it. I don't regret the relationship. I don't regret the times and the hard times, especially. As a matter of fact, I feel like I have learned quite a lot from this experience. And I think the major takeaway from this is we all have those bad times. We all have those people that come into our lives and they're not particularly ideal to us, but you know, the truth is, everybody, I hope you're listening close. The truth is, just because they're in your life and just because they're not the best person to be in your life does not mean that you cannot learn anything from them. It doesn't mean that you can't be taught something. It doesn't mean that you can't realize something. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't be in your life in the first place. One of my favorite quotes from Dale Carnegie in one of his books, he says, I think he was quoting another author who said this, but I just love the quote so much, I'm going to credit him because it was in his book. But he says, the biggest problem that we as human beings have is that we think we shouldn't have problems in the first place, when, as a matter of fact, we have them. But that doesn't mean that they aren't there for a reason. It doesn't mean we can't learn from them and become better because of them. I just want to send a message to that person out there who may be watching this. If you find this video, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have the time with you that I did. Thank you for teaching me so much, even if you didn't even realize it. And I really appreciate everything that I learned because of the relationship that we had and because of that experience that I just shared with everybody here. Also, I hope you're doing well. And that's the story. I really hope you enjoyed this. I want to thank you once again to those who watched, to those who subscribed and liked and everything, and follow me on Twitter. Everybody who has done so in the past 5 days alone. 5 days alone, who has been awesome and who has been so supportive. I don't know what to say, really. It's such a beautiful thing to see all of you again, to experience conversations that I left so many years ago, to those who I'm talking to again, who I haven't talked to in such a long time. I really missed you guys, and I am so looking forward to the future and what we can make through this channel. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, feel free to like, feel free to follow me on Twitter and at Furaffinity. All of the links are down below, and if you don't, then don't feel pressured to. If you didn't like the video, you can hit that dislike, or you can turn the video off. Works for me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go scare some haters. See you next time. I don't know how to end videos. I don't know how to end videos properly. Let's see. Like this. All right. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go take care. Let's try that again. Now. If you'll excuse me, I have to go take care. Seriously? Okay.